Empress thought surprisingly no lingering feelings remain in her. It was really easy. The Emperor came and asked where she was going. She didn't respond. The Emperor asked again if she had heard his question. Was she going to that guy, Lionel Becomes? Empress thought, up until the end. He still failed to recognize the most important thing. Then she spoke. Is it important to know who she will be going to? That's not important to her. What is important to her is that she can no longer tolerate him. The Emperor asked where else his Empress would be, if not by his side. Empress replied after trying to dethrone her, actually, it's for the better. Even if the dethronement didn't happen, she would still end up telling him this someday. She is giving up her seat next to him. She will throw away her position as Empress. Now back in time, she is Adelaide Gotrov, the best striker who is capable of single-handedly removing the tower's core. She is also the princess of the Gotrov Empire. No, she was the crown princess. A lady said it is a marriage proposal from the Enchmont's emperor, to go and become the Empress of Enchmont. Adelaide replied it looks like she is anxious to terminate her presence here. Mother said she thought Adelaide would joyfully accept it. Is she wrong? Doesn't she regret that day every time she struggles? That day, if only she had left her little brother Lucio to die, she would have been able to become Gotrov's emperor. Adelaide spoke. Please stop it. Mother continued. Don't she think she owe her one and only little brother? Of course, she knows Adelaide is loyal to him, but what about her future children or her close aides? Does she think they share the same mindset as her? She too might change her mind someday. Her existence to the Gotrov Empire is just like a knife on the jaw, for the sake of the Empire and her little brother's leave. Then in the carriage, Adelaide saw the picture of the Emperor. There is also a note, in which to written the Emperor's mistress Diana Poitiers, 29 years old. Adelaide thought she can only reach the continent and leave her homeland after crossing the deep and rough oceans. It's very far. She will become the Empress of that empire. On the other hand, the Emperor saw her picture, then thought when someone sends their prospective groom their portrait, they usually draw themselves sitting calmly with a gentle smile on their face. She is sending him a message that she will come as an empress, not a woman. It is merely a picture, yet the energy in it is so strong, it seems to reach the sky. It would be good for both of them if she comes as an ordinary woman. In the next scene, Adelaide asks how much farther they have to go. The lady replies that what she is seeing now is the first gate. They need to travel for about 1 more hour because they have to pass through the second gate. Adelaide speaks, saying she needs to change her clothes. Lionel Becomes, the defense minister and the commander of guards, comes. He was shocked and thought of golden eyes, her clothes. Then they both introduce themselves. Adelaide stated she has been riding from boat to carriage for 2 months. It wasn't an easy journey. Does he happen to have an extra horse? Lionel asks why she asks. Adelaide replies that she wishes to ride the horse, Lionel thought, so that's why she is wearing riding clothes. After that, she is riding a horse and shout, "Giddy up." Lionel thought, goodness, she is bold enough to shout like that, and her horse riding skill is excellent. After some time, Lionel asks, has her frustration subsided a bit now? Adelaide replies, thanks to him, he wants to ride a little more, but it would be difficult to arrive at the palace in this state. Thanks to him, she was able to endure the boring journey. She hopes they can ride together again next time. In the next scene, the Grand Duchess Elizabeth Elrich, who is the Emperor's half-sister and the only woman in the Ulrich family, comes. She asks, what are all these things? Did His Majesty give her all these? Is it not necessary to have anyone's permission for getting anything from the royal treasury? Diana replies that she was only choosing an appropriate crown for the Empress. Elizabeth states that she is the only noble lady who selects the crown for the Empress. She is concerned that if the Empire of Gothrop were to know about this, diplomatic protests might come flying. Rather than a crown chosen by the mere mistress, wouldn't the crown chosen by his sister be better? Diana replies she is sorry, but Lady Elizabeth is the only divorced woman in the empire. She is not sure if the lady is qualified, as she knows a divorced woman in their empire cannot officiate a wedding. Elizabeth shouts, this impudent girl. The emperor comes and shouts, what the hell is she doing right now? Diana thought he just came in time. Then she said he has arrived. Elizabeth asked if he was looking for his mistress rather than managing state affairs. He wouldn't believe it, but she has not done anything. The Emperor spoke. Then why is she like this? Diana told him it's all right. Her Grace hasn't done anything wrong. It's all because she is lacking. She is doing her best to prepare for His Majesty's wedding, but Her Grace was not satisfied with the preparations. Elizabeth stated, so that's what happened. She has once again become a mean sister-in-law who picks on an innocent person. Seems like he has no right to say anything. Even his mistress is trying to show off her authority in the pretense of preparing the wedding ceremony. The Emperor stated that right now they have no suitable royal lady who can host the wedding ceremony. Shouldn't they instead be grateful to her for volunteering to do it herself? Elizabeth asked if he was now blaming her for her divorce. The Emperor stated, let's stop this. This is his last warning. He is the one who put Diana in charge of the wedding ceremony preparation, so she has no say about this. Just follow her decisions. Are they clear? Elizabeth replied, well, she too doesn't want to see this sight ever again. She will head back to her fief as soon as the ceremony is over. Diana thought His Majesty is the sun. The closer people are to him, the more light they will receive. Even though she is His Majesty's older sister, she really thinks it will be all right if she upsets him. For him, Diana is the one and only moon. Elizabeth thought Diana can manipulate the Emperor this much. She doesn't know if the new Empress will be able to hang on. In the next scene, Diana spoke. His Majesty, he have to go now. The Emperor replied, a little bit. Let him stay like this a bit more. She thought he is so beautiful. This person is all hers. He has no intention of sharing with anyone else. The Emperor asked why she was crying. Diana replied she was just thinking what she should do. If the Empress is displeased with her, would it be better for her to leave the palace? The Emperor replied the Empress will never be able to harm her. Diana spoke. He is the only thing she wants in her life. Then she thought she would never let anyone steal him from her, even if it's the Empress. In the next scene, Diana's big brother stated there is not much time left before the Emperor's wedding. She can control her emotions well. Diana spoke. He has never seen her before lift her face. Then she thought of light blonde hair and deep blue eyes, although she is not noticeably beautiful. Then she said both of them leave. After that, she said she told him not to allow anyone with blonde hair and blue eyes to become a maid. Her brother replied, does she know how many common people have blue eyes and blonde hair? If they exclude all of them, does she think they will be able to pick a maid? Diana stated he has to do as she tells him. Does he understand? And be careful with his words in front of the maids. If he can't even do that, don't come looking for her in the future. Then he said anyway he knows His Majesty can't live without her, but even if he still cannot grant her the title of Empress, he heard the Empress who is coming is exceptionally beautiful. This is why he always told her to get pregnant before his marriage. Diana shouted, do he think that's as easy as it sounds? The Empress won't be granted anything by His Majesty. She knows love for the living can become cold. However, love for the dead cannot grow cold. His Majesty sees his mother in her, his mother who passed away prematurely due to the former Empress's prosecution. That's why the word Empress itself is something he hates. So the Empress who only has her status, it's better to be a mistress who has both love and power in her hands. On the other hand, the day after Adelaide arrived at the royal palace, people welcomed her. However, it became late in the evening, and there was still no news of the Emperor. In the end, he won't come. She stated she is tired. She will take a warm bath and retire for the day. If anyone visits, send them back and tell them to come back tomorrow. After some time, Adelaide saw Diana and thought, who is she? This is her bedchamber. It's common courtesy for all visitors to be guided to the drawing room to wait there. So how did this come here? Then Diana introduced herself. Adelaide thought, so she is the Emperor's mistress. Adelaide started, her clothes are all wet, hurry up and dry her hair. Diana thought she is relieved. Her face isn't the Emperor's type. Then she said, let her dry her hair. Adelaide asked if she was a maid. Diana replied, no, she is not a maid. Adelaide asked, then why did she say she wanted to dry her hair? Moreover, if she is not a maid? Why is she here in his bedchamber without her permission? Diana replied, she apologizes. She wanted to inform her of something. She came here because she thought Her Highness would be curious about His Majesty's preferences. Then she started telling her His Majesty's preferences. Adelaide thought, how dare she talk to her like that, she said. Did she say preferences? Then she spoke to the maid, bring her a glass of wine, and asked why she is giving her that kind of advice. She didn't ask for advice. Is she the kind of person who enjoys going around telling people about another person's preferences? Then can she go and tell His Majesty about her preferences? She likes a man who knows how to speak about private issues in person. And one more thing, not once in her life has she thought of changing to suit another person's preferences, and those preferences, just keep it to herself. Diana replied she is sorry. She hopes Her Highness has a comfortable rest. She has instructed maids to make no mistake while obliging her. After that, Adelaide thought, instructed them to make no mistake in obliging her. Isn't that what the house owner says to their visitors? To be greeted by the Emperor's mistress as soon as she arrives. It's ridiculous. On the day of the wedding, the Emperor had never looked for a prospective bride all the time. What a romantic Emperor they have here. One that's deeply in love. With this, he is saying that Diana is the one responsible for all the palace affairs, and that she is the stumbling block between them. A maid came and stated this is the platinum crown she will be wearing for the ceremony. After wearing it, Adelaide spoke, is there a gold crown? She still has some time before this ceremony, so she would like to change the crown. Go and bring her a gold crown. On the other hand, Diana said he is sorry. The Emperor thought someone small and fragile just like her comes to mind. Diana, who made him want to protect her from being called Empress, and at the same time makes him want to look away. The word, Empress, appears. It makes him feel sick. Then suddenly the Emperor shouted, Diana, breathe, please breathe slowly. Is there anyone outside? Hurry up and call the physician. At the wedding ceremony, nobles are chatting. Why hasn't His Majesty shown up? He is really late. Is it possible that Lady Diana is stopping him from coming? They feel pity for the bride standing there all by herself. Adelaide thought, does he plan on making her look ridiculous? She doesn't have anyone to ask nor anyone who would tell her what's happening. She feels as if she is being drawn into enemy territory fully unarmed. Then she remembers her nanny told her she has no one to trust except herself. Please keep in mind that she is the only one who can protect her honor and dignity. Then she said, go and get her a chair. She will have a seat until His Majesty comes. Nobles chatted. She is seated. A bride waiting for His Majesty remains seated. Elizabeth thought she made the nobles under control in just one move. Then she introduced herself and said she has always wanted to see her. Adelaide replied, despite their polite introductions, she is not really sure how she should introduce herself. It would be great if the ceremony started soon, so she would be able to confidently introduce herself to both of them. For the time being, she is Adelaide, who someone wants to hurry up and become an Ulrich. Elizabeth replied she already looks like this empire's Empress now. Adelaide stated, please be seated. Seems like they shall have to wait a little longer for His Majesty. Elizabeth thought she is really exceptional. She just simply offered them a seat. But with that, she showed them who has the higher rank in this place. She is curious to see the Emperor's face if he were to see this sight. After some time, the Emperor came. The Emperor thought, she is seated. Adelaide spoke, they may remove the chair. The Emperor thought she, without a doubt, to his surprise, is the very embodiment of an Empress. Then he said greetings. Adelaide thought, this man is the Emperor, a graceful face. The portrait didn't do his beauty justice. But how come he looks so cold-hearted? He is the one who came late. She feels tired already. A maid tells her this bouquet is to be held in her hand. Another maid tells him, please walk down the aisle holding Her Majesty's hand. The Emperor turned away. Nobles thought the Emperor refused to hold the Empress's hand. When walking down the aisle, the maid said, Her Majesty, the bouquet. Adelaide deplores, not needed. The Emperor stated, don't get greedy. Don't stop and keep walking. Adelaide asked, what does he mean by that? The Emperor stated he heard she asked Diana if she is a maid. Adelaide replied, of course she would question her, since she was in someone's bedchamber without permission. The Emperor spoke, Diana isn't a maid, so please don't make such rude mistakes ever again. And he won't spend the first night with her, so don't wait for him, Adelaide thought. What is the Emperor's attitude of placing boundaries by saying she is not his wife? As soon as they got married, she has now passed the point of no return. The next scene, maids tell her the ceremony is over. One of the maids stated, wouldn't it be all right for her now? He has been skipping her meals the past few days. The other maid asked, what is she talking about? Lady was unable to eat. Do she understand? The maid spoke, she is really sorry, my lady. Diana spoke, she just called her lady. Do she think this place is just some noble's mansion? Does she really seem like an ordinary person to her? This is the royal palace, and she owns this place, so how dare she call her a lady? The maid replied, she promises she will never repeat this mistake again. Please forgive her. Then Diana slapped her. She said she is the owner of this palace. She is to address her as Her Highness. On the other hand, Adelaide thought she has no one she can trust. She also can't trust the Empress's palace maids. There has not been any exchange between Gottrov and Enmon for quite a long time. She doesn't have enough information. There is a limit to embarrassing someone. Even on the wedding day, he brazenly went to Diana. In the next scene, the Emperor saw Diana and thought, his mother said his name. Diana thought he is in his wedding suit since he went after he saw her faint. Wedding ceremony must have been a disaster. She said he doesn't have to come here. She apologizes. She has always been a nuisance to him. Don't be like this. Hurry up and go. Her Majesty must be waiting for him. The Emperor replied he has already told her that he won't go, so don't worry about it. Then she thought, let's stop here. She should not annoy him by crossing the line. Then she asked, how does she introduce herself to Her Majesty? Now that there is an Empress. Nobles will also blatantly call her a mistress. The Emperor asked if she has a title in mind. Diana replied she wants His Majesty to call her His Majesty's lover. The Emperor replied, all right. After that, she thought if she can't become the Empress, then she will make sure nobody can completely have that position. The next day, nobles are chatting. They say that His Majesty went to the Ivory Palace as soon as the ceremony ended. His Majesty is also late to the ceremony because he was at the Ivory Palace. So that means the Empress was mistreated the day she got married. Suddenly, Adelaide came. All of the great her then thought, did she hear them? Now then, it's time to watch their words. After some time, Adelaide thought she braced herself when she came here, but it's harder than she thought. Get her act together and think of a way to survive. The next day, Diana thought she was the one who lost her parents early to the swarms of monsters emerging out of the tower. She was able to earn status as a daughter of a count and gain the Ivory Palace by securing the Emperor's love. It's all possible only because she worked hard for it. Someone who gained that position without any effort should never be above her. The Empress will never be able to sit on that chair today. Wedding ceremony. First night, first banquet. The main character of those events is her, not the Empress. That place was meant for her from the start. On the other hand, the maid apologized. They think the measurements they received from Gottrov used a different matrix system from Enmon. Adelaide asked, then how did the measurements fit for the wedding dress? Well, it can't be helped. Get it mended. It doesn't matter if she is late for the banquet. Maids reply they are really sorry. It's hard to mend a small dress to a bigger. Adelaide thought she always busy running around battling towers and monsters, must have belittled her fight inside the palace. However, she never rests from her war, not even once. Then she remembered her mother warned her, don't she ever lower her guard in Enmon? She asked, did Diana manage all of her wedding preparations, and did the Emperor give permission? The maids kept silent. Adelaide thought it's ridiculous. Seems like she wanted to show her superiority and the Emperor's affection, she said. Bring her wedding dress and a gold crown. Diana thinks too lightly of Gottrov's witch. At the banquet hall, all nobles praised Diana for her efforts. One of them admired her necklace. The other one was impressed by earrings. Some of them told her His Majesty and she both are lovebirds. Some nobles asked for her help in different works like tax exemption and tower issues. Her brother stated His Majesty ordered that every palace affair still be delegated to Her Highness. At this rate, the authority held by Her Highness is bigger than the Empress. Suddenly, Lionel stated what a dangerous statement he made there. Diana's brother asked, "What's the problem?" He didn't lie. Diana thought she needed to stop this fight. Nothing good comes from fighting Lionel here. Lionel spoke. Do he need to remind him the reason this banquet is held for? He should be more careful of his words and actions if he knows his place. In the next moment, Adelaide came. All the nobles stood for her. Diana thought she is wearing her wedding dress. Adelaide spoke. Seems like she is a bit late. Everyone. Diana thought she must not let the atmosphere get like this. Nobles are chatting. What should they do? Should they go and greet her? Lionel stated. Her Majesty. Our deepest respect to your Majesty. Then one by one, all the nobles greeted her. Diana thought if they won't look her way, she will just force them to. She greeted Her Highness. Adelaide thought. Look at her, making her appearance to incite the people. Diana spoke. She is the one who prepared the wedding ceremony and banquet. How is it? Do she like it? Adelaide replied. All this time, she has worked hard. Don't be upset that she didn't wear the banquet dress she prepared. Though it's beautiful, she couldn't wear it even if she wanted to because it was too small in size. Please don't apologize for it. Everyone makes mistakes. Nobles chatted. Now that she looks at it, he is wearing her wedding dress. She didn't notice it since it doesn't stand out. Is she intentionally did it? The Emperor came and saw Adelaide, then thought, seems like the Empress has the crowd under control today too. She is a natural at dominating and ruling. She is a woman who won't shed a single drop of blood when stabbed. The Emperor then asked Diana why she was crying. Then he asked Adelaide what she was doing. Adelaide replied, they are exchanging greetings. The Emperor asked, what kind of greetings would make one cry like this? Adelaide replied, she herself is curious as to why Diana is crying. Let's ask the lady herself. Diana stated she just wanted to greet Her Majesty. Then after some time, the Emperor stated, don't be interested in her. He is saying that this woman is his lover, so don't poke her nose around her. Adelaide thought she is really glad that she has a habit of smiling whenever she feels awful. Then she replied with those words, can he please relay it to his lover? She has only crossed paths with that woman twice, and she approached her first both times. One of the nobles spoke, until the very end, she is not losing her composure. Lionel replied, yes, that's right. Then he thought, whether or not losing her composure, she looks like she is trying hard not to lose it. In the next scene, Adelaide thought, a dress too small for her to wear, never-ending sneers, insults she is not used to. Her mana is being shaken up by these overwhelming emotions. It's still too soon. She needs to endure it for now. Well, she understands why Diana behaved that way. However, what's the deal with the Emperor? If he loves her so much that he can't live without her, he should have just proclaimed her as the Empress. Why did he act like that after dragging innocent people into this? Then she thought she should always act like she has it all. Don't act humble even when she has nothing at all. Because when she really has nothing, people never fail to find out, and an Empress not acknowledged by the Emperor has nothing but her title. The moment this fact is brought to light, everyone will rush to rip her apart. She has to think of a way. The next morning, Adelaide asked who is responsible for the general management of the palace. The maid replied that currently the position is vacant. Adelaide asked then who is filling it temporarily. The maid replied it's young lady Diana. Adelaide asked then who was the former manager. The maid replied it was Countess Hannah Kicks. She spoke, summon Countess right away. Tell her she is requested to be present and bring her the new edition of all the Empire law books. After some time, Adelaide thought the current Emperor decided to give all the palace management authority to Diana instead of the Empress. It's fortunate that at least, the Empress's inherent power is bestowed upon appointment. The next scene, Elizabeth thought the Empress looked smaller than the thought. However, despite that, she didn't think of her as weak, not once. She is the kind of person who makes her opponent feel pressured just by her existence. Then she said she heard that Her Majesty called Countess to the palace. She used to be her nursemaid. Adelaide asked why is she telling her this. Elizabeth spoke. Calling her to the palace means she wants to strengthen her position in the palace. It surely won't be easy to do since Diana has the Emperor's affection on her side. And the power of Duke Davenel, the Emperor's uncle, behind her. Everyone in the palace right now is on their side. Adelaide stated she asks just one question. What's in it for Duchess Grand if she were to strengthen her position as the Empress? Elizabeth thought she just went to the point, then she won't need to talk in circles. Elizabeth spoke. Right now, the Emperor who is stuck between Diana and Duke is unable to run the empire properly. That's why she desperately hopes for Her Majesty to sever dealing between them and the Emperor. And if she can give her suggestion, please release a notice to look for an aide, as the palace manager is responsible for managing the palace's internal affairs. They are usually a woman. On the other hand, an Empress's aide is usually a man. Every time her father, the late Emperor, changed his mistress, her mother would also add more aides to send a message. Adelaide asked, so she is saying the Emperor has a mistress, she should have one too. Elizabeth replied she wasn't saying that she should have a revenge affair, but a fighting spirit is essential in Enmon. If she does nothing after being humiliated in front of everyone, they will think that the Empress is not better than the mistress. Although the chance is low, if Duke Valgir's family sends an applicant, don't think twice and choose that person. Then after some time, Countess came. She is the manager at the time of the previous Empress. Her position made her capable of dominating the royal palace as an influential figure for a long time. However, her world crumbled when Diana came, the one who instilled the late Empress's wrath and caused her early death. Diana's first order was the dismissal of Countess. The Empress asked if she wanted her to do the job. Is it possible? Countess replied as far as she knows, she would be grateful to do it. However, His Majesty won't take it favorably. A maid came and told her the dresses she ordered recently have arrived. The Empress asked if there was something wrong. The maid replied the royal palace treasury said they can't proceed with Her Majesty's dress payment. Adelaide thought, what? It's preposterous to think they said they can't proceed with the Empress's dress payment. Then she asked, is it better to call them to the Empress's palace and bear the payment with her own pocket? Countess replied it would be bad for her prestige if rumors were to spread, so it would be better to call them to the palace. They could give them the money and silence them. However, she won't need to meet them directly. Please entrust the task to her. The next scene, Adelaide thought who would have guessed that he would have to use these so early. She wanted to properly go at it right. The next scene, Adelaide asked, what do she think happened? Countess replied, she thinks this happened because there is no budget allocated to the Empress Palace. At the end of every year, the royal palace arranges their next year's budget. Adelaide asked, does that mean she has to put up with it? Countess replied, of course not. Allocation of budget could be done by an emergency supplementary budget system. However, the authority of the supplementary budget is under His Majesty. Adelaide thought, as expected, she has to face him directly. After some time, Adelaide spoke. Seems like there is a conference with the ministers. She would like to have an audience with His Majesty. The maid replied, if she would like to wait in the drawing room, they will go and convey His Majesty's answer. Adelaide said, no need for that. Guide her to the conference waiting room, she will wait for him there. At the conference room, Count stated, His Majesty, today he begs him to send a striker, who could get rid of the tower and keepers, who could block the monsters. People keep dying out there even as he speaks. And now there are aerial monsters spawning out of the tower, they don't have a way to back them anymore. Lennox stated, don't he think he made too much fuss whining over a mere level 4 tower? Let's say they send magicians. What happens if a level 1 tower descends at the royal palace? Isn't it putting His Majesty in danger? Isn't that such a selfish statement? The Count replied, watch his words. Lennox, Lionel spoke. They should prioritize sending magicians to the Count's territory. It's not like they are short on human power. And don't they have magicians residing in the royal palace too? Lennox said, Minister of Defense, what is he saying? Do he think that their magicians are just idling away in the royal palace? The emperor stated. Stop it. They will never finish at this rate. The count he feels bad for his fief, however, sending magicians his way is deemed unnecessary. He will end today's conference now. Adelaide thought he ended up not sending any magicians. She will meet the count separately. Then Lionel came and greeted her. Adelaide asked, he have good timing. Can he tell her who Count Calvin is? Lionel replied, there he is. Adelaide asked, are there no magicians assigned to each regional unit? Lennox spoke, he is the vice captain of the magic department. Adelaide asked, doesn't Enmon classify towers with aerial monsters as intermediate? From what she heard, no magicians are being sent. Lennox replied, it's a bit worrisome, but she don't need to be too concerned about it. He is doing his best to protect the royal palace. Then she said, it's nice to meet all of them. Lionel thought, in an arrogant look in her eyes, her cold yet refined attitude, her extremely natural way of dealing with the nobles, she hasn't changed. The next scene, the emperor asked, what do she want? Adelaide questioned. What was the reason for proposing this royal marriage? Why did he appoint her as the empress? She is sure it was he who proposed this marriage. The emperor replied, just so there is one, just so it exists, just like the vein of this quill, existing solely as decoration, she have fulfilled her role by simply existing. Adelaide then asked, then why would he have to hurt her prestige? Did he do that because she is worried she might harass Diana? The emperor remained silent. Adelaide thought, as expected, that's the reason. Then she said, she is glad that he want her to exist merely as the empress. She wanted that too. She is the empress of Enmon and plans to carry out her duties thoroughly. She requests His Majesty's cooperation. The emperor asked, what cooperation do she mean? Adelaide spoke, first, to learn about the empire. She is in need of a consultant. The best way to do it is to ask the royal palace overseer. If it turns out that position is held by Diana, it would be hard for her to call Diana for consultation. That's why she requested the former royal palace overseer, Countess Hannah Kix, for consultation. She won't be freely appointed as the royal palace overseer. Emperor replied she may do that. Adelaide stated, the Empress Palace does not have any budget. She requests an emergency supplementary budget. The emperor thought of a red dress symbolizing Enmon's empress. He called Her Majesty the farmer. Even though he extended his arms every time those unreachable trails of skirts, his mom spoke of her pitiful son, the empress will never acknowledge him. The next scene, the emperor asked, why didn't she delegate the emergency supplementary budget to the Empress Palace? He is certain it's included in the empress's welcoming preparations. Diana replied, she hasn't done that yet, she forgot about it, she was going to do it, she apologizes. The emperor stated, enough, Charlie needs to revise it. Stop crying. You're such a crybaby. He has transferred the empress's duties back to the Empress Palace. Moreover, he will retract the palace internal duties he entrusted to her. On the other hand, Countess asked if she chose the dress she is wearing herself. Adelaide replied she approved the dress that was recommended by the maids. Countess spoke. Then she will place an order for new dresses. Adelaide asked why. Does the design go against some kind of formality? Countess replied it looks exactly like the Empress's dress, as if she is wearing the late Empress's inherited clothes. It would irritate His Majesty, it would be better to avoid wearing them. Adelaide thought Countess was the late Empress's right hand, and the person who was kicked out of the royal palace by the Emperor. It may be dubious, but it would be better to trust her words regarding this matter. She needs more trustworthy people. Then she stated she also needs to meet with Count Calvin, summon him to the Empress Palace. At night, Diana thought about how easy it is to have her position stolen. That woman must have done something. She was lucky to be born as a princess. That's why she is so arrogant. Without any effort, it's unfair. The next scene, the Empress asked the Count when the tower descended, and has it been a while since the aerial monsters started spawning? If so, what's the diameter of the tower? It must have widened. The Count replied she is right. He ran to check it out as soon as he heard about the aerial monsters. There are no keepers who could hold off the tower, let alone any strikers to remove it. Solely the people of his fief have raised arms to block the monsters. The capital usually sends help based on the tower level. Adelaide asked if it would be medium-sized if it's level 4. Still, no support was sent. The Count replied there have been times when support was withheld even for level 2 towers. Adelaide stated that's no different than telling the entire area to die. The Count begged her, "Please save them, Your Majesty." As he speak, the citizens are dying miserably. Adelaide thought her mom said the tower is an opportunity for them. Does she think she can save all the people in this world? She just needs to close her eyes and cover her ears for a while, and then she will give her the world. Adelaide replied she can only say that because Mother didn't see people who keep dying out there. The world she didn't need to give it to her. It was that day her mother and she started to grow apart. Then her mother ended up taking away the title as Crown Princess. Adelaide said to tell his citizens to seek refuge in the neighboring fief. The best places to hide from aerial monsters are underground spaces like caves. Make shelters for the old and weak there. After that, join forces with other lords so he can hold his ground longer, effectively pressuring the capital more. Countess stated to take it. The Count asked why she is giving this to him. Adelaide replied with that she is certain that citizens and others would be able to survive for a while. She is sorry she couldn't aid him in another method. After some time, Lionel asked what's wrong. Count, what happened at the Empress Palace? The Count replied she gave him these. She told him to use this to evacuate the citizens. The other noble stated it was unforeseen from Her Majesty. Lionel thought the Empress gave him gold bars to evacuate the fief citizens. The next scene, Adelaide thought her mother told her that she is smart. However, the world is a place established by smart people but ruled by wise people. That's why she needs to be a wise person. Then she thought the reason she had to endure insults and insolences is that she has no power. In this unfamiliar land, the wise action could help her gain power. Countess asked why she doesn't request a meeting with His Majesty. As long as they are in Enmon, it would be good to maintain a cordial relationship with His Majesty. After some time, Countess spoke. She looks stunning. The next scene, the Emperor thought. Golden eyes and bright, distinct lips. Her pale complexion perfectly complements her white collarbone and neck. She looks like a very different person. Then he asked why she sought him out at night. Adelaide replied she came here assuming it's time for his supper. Would he like to dine together? The Emperor spoke. As a matter of fact, he was going to call her to ask something. Why did she summon the Count? What was the reason? Adelaide replied she summoned him because she was worried about his situation. The Emperor stated his fief is about to fall into ruins because of the tower, and he didn't send any help. He sent away a man who was begging for help empty-handed, and the Empress summoned back that same man. He heard that she even gave him gold bars quietly. What does she think that means? Is the Empress generous and compassionate, as opposed to the Emperor? Adelaide replied she summoned him only because of his situation and gave him some advice. Why is he interrogating her as if she committed a sin? The Emperor replied, from now on, close her eyes and cover her ears. She only need to think and see good things. Adelaide thought she felt nauseous. She really can't stay here anymore. The Emperor thought she is so slender, as if she would break into pieces if he held her too strongly. She smells sweet. Is this woman really the same woman who dominated the crowd just by her gaze? The Emperor asked, what's that expression? Is HSE not here this late at night looking this attractive? Because she want to spend the night with him. If she asked for him to hug her, he guessed spending our first night today is not too bad. Adelaide stated, stop it. The Emperor spoke. He knows she used to be Crown Princess. Indeed, those eyes are befitting of a ruler. However, Empress, don't forget that he is the Emperor of this place, not the type of woman who is gentle and obedient. So don't meddle in his affairs ever again. She can leave now. After some time, Diana asked if there was something wrong, her hands trembling, her body shaking too, her makeup looking pretty. It seems like she is heeding her advice, however, it is not going the way she wanted. Is she going to run away? Adelaide asked what? Diana replied. It will be better if she applied the makeup a bit thicker since she has a pale complexion. After that, Adelaide thought she is running away. Then suddenly, she was getting down from the stairs. Lionel held her. Adelaide stated, "Looks like she lost her footing, then she will excuse herself." Lionel thought her face looked pale. Will she be fine? She was someone with a refreshing smile. His hands, when they touched Her Majesty's shoulder, felt hot, as if they were scorched by fire. The next scene, she thought. What should she do? She needs to grow her power independently from the Emperor. After some time, Countess thought. Her Majesty's face was already pale when she came out of His Majesty's room. After that, she was humiliated by meeting Diana. She almost fell down the stairs, and the Minister of Defense caught her. A maid came and told her. He came with the request to confirm the revision of the emergency supplementary budget. Adelaide asked, "Where does this document come from? Was it sent by His Majesty?" The maid replied, "No, it wasn't. It was sent from the Ivory Palace." Adelaide asked, "Does she have the authority to look over the entire budget of the Royal Palace?" Countess replied, "Of course she do. She will bring it." Then, after some time, Countess asked, "Just how much was the return amount for her to do this?" Adelaide replied, "Look at the amount herself." Countess was shocked. Adelaide spoke, "It's not enough to even buy a mere horse, let alone a horse of breed. It's not enough for a mere common horse. From the looks of it, she thinks it's common sense to reallocate the budget of the Ivory Palace to the Empress Palace." The next scene, Diana stated, so she told her a lot about the Empress Palace budget again. "Here, take it." She doesn't know if the Empress would be satisfied with this. After some time, Adelaide thought, for it to arrive this fast means that the authority for the supplementary budget revision resides with the Ivory Palace. He needs to go back and come again. On the other hand, Diana stated, "Seems like the Empress wants to be lavish. She has given her enough already. Hasn't she?" The maid replied, "Yes, she has, Your Highness." Diana said, "Bring her the plainest dress she has, then immediately run to His Majesty to tell him." The Empress called her regarding the supplementary budget revision, and she is now trembling with fear. Now shall she go catch a black-furred beast? The next scene, Adelaide stated, "The authority of acquiring residency permit of the palace is solely under the Empress. This clause is written in one of the Royal Palace law books. Isn't this clause completely in her favor?" Countess replied, "Yes. However, please be careful. The Royal Palace law is a double-edged sword. If she uses it and swings it around, she should also be prepared for her hand to be hurt." Adelaide spoke. "Look at her. Even though she is the Empress, she still has to request a budget increase from the Emperor's mistress. She only increased it by a silver bar. The Emperor was the one who swung the sword first. She has been hurt enough from it. What should she do if she wants to overturn already handled permits?" Countess replied, "She just needs to order to retrieve them." Adelaide stated, "Then what is she waiting for? Madam, hurry up and bring me Diana's residency permit." The next scene, Adelaide thought, what is the source of an Empress's power? Usually, it is from her family and friends, or sometimes from bearing an heir. Her family influence leaves. She doesn't have it, bearing an heir. Screw it. The only other option is to recruit an aide and establish her own standing. Suddenly, Adelaide thought, this feeling. She is sure that was the tower's energy. A maid came and said Diana is requesting an audience. Adelaide thought, why did she have to come here herself? After some time, Adelaide stated, look at this. It's the details of the Ivory Palace arranged budget. Diana asked, with all due respect, can she ask why she is showing her this? Adelaide replied, that's because she have something to ask her about it. Why are there no details on the usage of the Ivory Palace budget? Diana was shocked. Adelaide continued, expenditure of the expendable, expenses of salary payment, and Swan. The other places all wrote their details of usage. However, the Ivory Palace is the only palace that doesn't have a single record of its details of usage, only the amount is written. Do she perhaps happen to know the reason? Diana asked why she was asking about the details of the Ivory Palace budget. Adelaide replied, that's because the budget allocated to the Ivory Palace can be transferred over to the Empress Palace. On the other hand, a maid told the emperor that Her Highness summoned him to the Empress Palace. She submitted this supplementary budget revision. However, Her Majesty ordered to revise it twice. She was trembling with so much fear when she was heading to the Empress Palace, the emperor thought he can't breathe. The next scene, Adelaide stated, "Haven't she been fulfilling the Empress's position all this time, and the budget she received was for the Empress's duties? Since now she will fulfill her task as Empress, is it not natural she received the allocated budget? Thanks for all the hard work she have done. She won't ask her to write out everything with detail of the budget usage. Of course, she will be the one who will be doing that. She just need to hand over the Ivory Palace budget to the Empress Palace. Diana thought all these things are hers." Adelaide said, "Do she think she are losing her position because of the Empress? Listen closely, she is the Empress. Don't she dare challenge her authority. If she ever try to challenge the Empress's authority, she will never forgive her." Diana thought, "Don't make her laugh. That authority was held to begin with. It's her. Where is His Majesty?" The emperor came and asked what she was doing. Diana said, "Please forgive her, she is sorry, please forgive her." Adelaide thought, she is doing this again. The emperor asked, "What the hell is she doing now?" Adelaide said, "Get up. Lady, we were conversing just fine before. Why is she suddenly doing this?" Diana asked, "Please, Her Majesty, suppress her anger." The emperor stated, "Take Diana to the Ivory Palace, all of them leave, he will speak with the Empress alone." "Long time no see, Countess," the Countess replied. "It's been a while, Your Majesty," the emperor stated. "She have not changed at all. She always stood beside the Empress, watching her trample on the weak. Was it fun?" Adelaide said, "Wait outside, Countess," the emperor shouted. He asked if she found it fun. Adelaide shouted, "Wait outside, Countess." After the Countess left, the emperor asked, "What is she doing? Is it fun for her to trample over the weak? She truly have bad habits." Adelaide said, "If he is referring to Diana, that woman knelt before the moment he opened the door. Then she started to beg as soon as he entered the room." The emperor asked, "Isn't that an incredible coincidence? Is she greedy for what Diana has?" Adelaide replied, "Now that she think about it, the one who went overboard was not Diana, but him. Have he taken a look at this supplementary budget revision for the Empress Palace? Look, it's not even enough to buy an ordinary horse." The emperor stated, "It seems her mother, the Empress, lied to him. She said that she and an obedient and devoted daughter." Didn't Adelaide realize anything after getting kicked out of her homeland? Adelaide replied, "If he is not aware of the full story, then don't speak mindlessly." The emperor stated, "Listen carefully, just like the quill of a quill pen, just like a vase that holds dead flowers, she should live like that." Suddenly, Adelaide thought, "This feeling," then she ran outside. Adelaide saw the sky turn red. "It's a tower, the top is descending." Countess told her she needs to hurry and take shelter. Adelaide replied, "No, there is no need for that." On the other hand, Lionel said, "It looks like level 4 or 5. Fortunately, it's descending on a garden. It would be harder to resolve if it landed on a building." Then he shouted, "Everyone, get in their position. Maintain the line. The tower reaches 50 feet above the ground. The magicians will come. Until they come, they need to block it." Then he thought, "Magicians are not coming again. They are going to appear once all the knights are dead again." Then he said, "Hurry to the magician's residence and call them here." After some time, Jackal stated, "It's an order from the Minister of Defense. He has to assemble all the magicians at the Rose Garden where the tower is now descending." Lennox replied, "It's hard to do that right now. Moreover, the magician's division is directly under the jurisdiction of His Majesty. He heard Sir Jackal didn't get his salary this time. It probably wouldn't matter to him, the firstborn of a count, Jackal. But if one of his subordinates has any financial struggles, should he give them one of his buttons?" Jackal shouted, "A tower is descending on the royal palace. Do he think the magicians would be fine after this?" Lennox replied, "Even if the magicians are reprimanded, he is sure he won't be. That's why, Jackal, don't get on his nerves, or else, he might not go there until the knights are dead." Jackal said, He is requesting the magician's cooperation. Lennox thought, how thrilling. No one knows just how thankful he is for this blood-red sky. This natural dark disaster is a blessing and God's gift for him. The next scene, the Empress asked, why are they just standing there? Lionel asked Her Majesty, what is he doing here unescorted? Please take shelter immediately. Adelaide asked, why are there no magicians? Why aren't they destroying the tower while it's descending? Are they still waiting for it to reach the ground? Lionel replied, she have to hurry up and take shelter in certification. It's dangerous. Please take cover behind him. Then he thought, magical power. Have the magicians arrived? They are still quite far. Then whose magic was that just now? Adelaide stated. Since it's a level 4 tower, almost like a level 5, they must not wait anymore. Lionel asked, Your Majesty, what does she plan on doing? Adelaide replied, removing the tower. Lionel shouted, don't do it. She might be swept into the rising air current if she go that way. Then he thought, his hand. It's being repelled. Is this magic? Adelaide said, no need to worry. Don't get in her way, Lionel stated. Get a hold of yourselves. Prepare yourselves for when Her Majesty falls down. Lennox thought, Her Majesty was swept up by the uprising air current. Arrange into a circle surrounding the tower, spread their magic wide, and catch her when she falls to ensure her safe landing. Then he thought, what is this? The tower is on fire. Try to extinguish the flame with magic. Lionel thought, a well-fitted training uniform, a sword attached to her back, and strong magic that pushed him. Is it possible that Her Majesty is? Adelaide thought, when she is falling after removing the tower, the sight of the sky distancing in flashes is a scene known only to her. Now shall she prepare for her landing? Is this Lionel Valgier? Then Adelaide safely landed and asked, were he by chance going to catch her fall with his arms? Lionel replied, that's what he was planning to do. Adelaide replied, he is a knight, using arms, he might lose his arms if he do that. Then she thought, all this time, she has had people who scolded her for this, but there was never anyone who ran android to catch her. Then she said, thanks for the kind gesture and for yesterday too. Lionel thought, how can she be like that? Is she the same person running away with the pale face yesterday? Adelaide asked, why don't he sheath his sword now, since there is no need for it? Lennox thought, did she really just remove a tower by herself, to think that Her Majesty is a magician? The next scene, the Countess thought, did the tower disappear? Then she asked, where did the Empress go dressed like that? She was really worried. Adelaide replied, to destroy the tower. The next moment, she fell on the ground. Nobles were chatting, thinking that Her Majesty is a magician. They say she single-handedly destroyed the tower. Lionel thought, the red sky from before feels like a hallucination now. It was strong magic. Rather than the dark disaster raining down on them from a pitch-black sky, she was outstanding. The Duke asked, is he saying that the Empress is a magician? And is it true she destroyed the tower without any help from other magicians? Lennox replied, yes indeed, the Duke said, to think she is a magician. What an amazing person she is. Lennox thought that kind of power is an easy feat for him too. He was planning to wait for those arrogant knights to fall into despair, so he can arrive glamorously and destroy the tower, but the Empress ruined everything. After some time, Lennox asked, is she still not pregnant yet? Diana shouted, please just stop asking that. Do he think getting pregnant is something she can do on her own? Lennox said, the Empress is a magician. She is even a striker. Diana replied, then the one who destroyed the tower is the Empress. She thought she was open for a useless doll. Out of everything, why must she be a magician? Lennox said, what would happen if the Duke thinks he is useless? Diana replied, if she thought he would be easily cast aside, she wouldn't have brought him here, brother, and don't worry. It doesn't matter if the Empress is a magician. Nothing has changed, so do not fear, since they are the ones who will have the last laugh. The Countess thought to destroy a tower without help from anyone. If the source of magic, the tower disappears, the magician's mana will drain out, causing fatigue. Then she said, deliver this letter to the Duchess Grand. On the other hand, The Emperor thought the tower is in flames. Is it the magician's division doing? The maid replied. The Empress destroyed the tower all by herself. The Emperor thought, it seems that the early accurate information sent by Gotrov's Empress is her daughter's name and sex. No matter how he looks at it, the Empress of Gotov didn't have the confidence to control her daughter. Isn't that why she sent her to Ichmont? Then he said, go to the Gotrov Empire and find out more about Adelaide's track record. The next morning, Adelaide stated, put out a notice for recruiting an aide. The qualification standards are males above 20, and they must be single, excluding the ones who already have a fiancé. The selection will be conducted through an interview, and the selection requirement is solely her heart. The next scene, Lionel, the big brother, asked what Her Majesty's intention is. Is she doing this to protect herself against His Majesty, or is she planning to fight back against Diana by establishing her own individual power? Lionel replied he doesn't know. He doesn't think it either. Brother, the other day, didn't Our Majesty give Count gold bars? He is sure His Majesty wasn't happy about it. He believes Her Majesty's viewpoint of the tower may be different from the magician division's. The public announcement for Her Majesty's aid. He will apply for it himself. Brother asked what? No, he has to think it over. He won't get anything out of it. If he becomes an aide, everyone will talk behind his back about him being the Empress's lover. Lionel replied he has no honor left for it to be ruined. They can't recede anymore. It was just yesterday that Lennox intentionally dawdled around despite his order for backup. However, he can't complain about the magician divisions, even though he is the Minister of Defense. Magicians, towers, and monsters. What do they know about them? The cause behind their empire's distress. At least Her Majesty probably knows a lot more about them than they do. If he can obtain information about them by being an aide, they can better themselves. Big Brother spoke if she were still alive. Their mother would have surely slapped his back for this. Lionel replied he will take it that he allows him. On the other hand, Diana thought he did not say anything to her at all, even though this is the first time she has seen him after that day at the Empress Palace. The Emperor spoke if she is unwell. Go rest at her palace. Diana stated she heard the news that Her Majesty posted a public announcement about recruiting an aide, if this could be a problem for His Majesty. The Emperor replied it's not something she has to concern herself with. Take proper care of the revision of the Empress Palace budget so no more commotion is caused from it. Diana thought her Emperor is both heaven and hell. He can make her life heaven and then switch it to hell easily, just like now it was so easy for him. After some time, Maid reported to him the current situation about Her Majesty's aide recruitment. After hearing the report, he asked if there are any applications related to the Valir family. The maid replied for now there isn't. The next scene, after getting so many interviews, Adelaide thought there isn't a single applicant who understood the meaning of her announcement. An applicant from the Valir family hasn't shown up yet. The next phase of the interview has been started. Suddenly Lionel arrived. Lionel spoke. Hoping he is not late, Countess replied, please wait for a moment. After the other applicants left, Adelaide thought, at least it's finally over now, Countess said. There is still one applicant left. Adelaide saw the application and said, let him in. Lionel thought there was an intense look in her eyes, as expected. She was not looking for an aide just for amusement. Then he said, is she planning to balance the power? Is that why she needs someone as support, in a place where she has nowhere to lean on? She wants to cooperate with influential people she can trust, to fight back against those in power. Isn't that why she is looking for an aide? Whoever she has selected, he is confident he is the better option. Adelaide thought he accurately figured out her intentions. Then she said, regardless, what he means to say is that he sincerely wants to be her aide, isn't it? Lionel replied, yes, that's right. Adelaide asked, then he could have sent someone from his vassals to do it. Why would the direct bloodline of Valir do it himself? Lionel replied, it's because he wants something from Her Majesty, or knowledge about towers. Adelaide asked, do he believe it's better to know more about the towers, despite what he might lose as her aide? Lionel replied, yes, Your Majesty. Adelaide spoke. Appointing an aide to fight off someone in the royal palace to build her own prestige. he identified her intentions accurately. However, to do that, he has to pretend to be her lover. Is he aware of this fact? She can call him by his name and speak informally with him. That way, they would look like lovers in their eyes. If he is still fine with that, then she will appoint him as her aide. Lionel replied, "Of course, he is fine with that. Please appoint him as her aide." At night, the emperor thought, so Lionel is also an applicant. Then he thought about how that noble-blooded woman, who was set to be a ruler, became unsettled, and how her prideful eyes, which looked down on him, became agitated. What's so bad about being the quill of a quill pen or a vase holding flowers? Isn't that a comfortable life? How should he tame a beast that bears its fangs and exposes its claws? Then he will pluck out its fangs and claws. In the next scene, Countess told her that His Majesty has come to see her and asked what she would like her to do. Adelaide replied, "Seems like he has come to ask something regarding Lionel's visit. Shouldn't she at least hear what he wants to ask her?" Like this video. Hit the like button and subscribe for more videos.